What's going on, everybody? I originally started recording this at the gas station, but it appears that my GoPro decided to freeze. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm out here, out for a ride on a gorgeous 62-degree day. Oh, shush. You don't need to check the oil. But I'm out here, out for a ride. I thought I would make a video about my personal top 5 reasons why you should consider getting a bagger as your second bike or next bike. And these are in no real major order, because each person is going to have something that's higher on their list than the next person, so I thought I would say these top 5 things of mine are some reasons why you should consider doing a bagger as your next bike. And number 1 is going to be comfort. And now, generally cruisers in general are much better comfort machines than sport bikes or super nakeds or adventure bikes and all that. But what I'm talking about as far as comfort in this scenario is long distance comfort. So when you are going around town, it doesn't really matter if you have a big bagger or if you have, you know, a soft tail or a Honda Shadow, a BMW K1600, an Indian Chieftain. It doesn't really matter generally. Like, you can be comfortable in a seating position on almost any bike going around town, but once you start getting into those, you know, 100 mile, 200 miles in a sitting in one direction, you know, it's hard to beat a lot of the baggers or any of the touring bikes in general. You know, I don't want to discriminate against guys that are hardcore BMW fans, but you all know that your K1600B is by far the superior bagger, even against American V-twin baggers like the Chieftain, the Street Glide, the Road Glide, the Challenger. You know, this is really why touring bikes get their name as touring bikes, is because you can simply get on your bike, have a full tank of gas, and go in any direction that you feel. It's more or less how the wind takes you or where the road takes you. So comfort over long distances, if you expect yourself to be going and taking more 300, 400 mile trips in a day, you know, it's best to consider that a touring bike is your next bike. Number 2, I would say, is storage capacity. Now, granted, there are a bunch of smaller bikes, a bunch of smaller light touring bikes that can handle just as much storage as your baggers, but when it comes to being able to do it comfortably, I would say it's hard to beat a touring bike, with the fact that you have, most of them have solid saddlebags, rigid saddlebags. Most either can have a tour pack or the ability to attach a tour pack for an additional storage capability, and they generally carry that weight, that added weight, better. They're already big bikes. They already weigh quite a bit, you know. So, ow. That car threw a rock right at my shin. Ow. Back to what I was saying. The touring bikes, when you load them down, they're like, yep, this is what we're meant to do. stock suspension is meant to handle that extra weight, you know, with the preload and all that. With your light tours, say like the Sport Glide, the the Harley Sport Glide, that bike is designed to do light touring, but I feel like that's more of like, oh, I'm going to take my bike to work, like a daily driver kind of replacement. Number 3 is going to be wind protection. Now, most cruisers don't offer wind protection, or not wind protection of a full fairing style. You know, there are the Heritage, the Softail Heritage is actually classified as a touring bike now, but let's just pretend that it's still in the Softail family, and that it's not considered a touring bike. It's considered just a Softail. That bike just has a windshield, which is good wind protection, but it doesn't protect like parts of your legs, doesn't deflect air around a lot of your body. It just more or less prevents wind from getting you directly right in the face, and bugs and rocks and whatnot. You know, with the touring bikes, most of them do offer a full front fairing, whether it's fixed or handlebar mounted. That plays a huge factor in how many miles you can put down. You know, you could sit there behind that fairing for 100 miles and probably won't even notice. You'd be like, yep, I'm just cruising around, got my music cranked up and all that. It's good to go. That's number 3. I think number 4 is their long distance capability is unmatched. They simply put the biggest tank and the best motors in the bike to take you the longest distance with getting the most gas mileage possible. And overall, I think that actually plays really well into the overall usability of a touring bike, to the point that you can get on your bike and actually go to work, throw your lunch in your saddlebag or in your tour pack and go to work, and you're like, yep, we're going to work. It's not a big deal. And they're not unbalanced, so it's not like you can't handle taking it to work or throwing it around in town. I have no problem throwing my big bagger around town like it's a Sportster. You know, it's all about your comfort level, obviously, but I think that touring bikes are often given the bad rap of being these heavy, slow bikes that are just meant to eat up a bunch of miles. And the last part, yes, they are definitely meant to eat up a bunch of miles. Oh, excuse me. But there's more to them than just going in one direction. And I think the 5th and final reason why you should consider getting a bagger, or a touring bike, I should say, in general, as your next motorcycle, is the fact that you may have a significant other that wants to ride with you more. For me personally, this was number 1 reason why I went and got a bagger. The others were just kind of pluses. My wife had tried to learn to ride a motorcycle, and she did ride. She just wasn't comfortable riding on the streets. Sioux Falls is not extremely populated. It's getting up to 200,000 people, but when you grow up in a small town of like 50 people, or in my case 400 people, it's much easier to learn how to ride on those kind of streets versus, you know, in your square mile, you know, block, there's probably like 1,000 people, maybe 500 at the minimum. You know, that's a lot of people that go in and out, and there's also people from other parts of the city that come through your area as well. And that makes it really hard to feel confident to ride and to learn to ride, and that's what happened. So we weighed out what we were paying on my older bike, my Dyna, and what she was paying on her bike. and we decided let's just get rid of them both and go for one that we can ride together. And this bike is so much more comfortable stock to handle the two of us than my Dyna ever could have been. I could have put in a lot of money to make it a mini touring mini bagger, but I just didn't see the use, and I couldn't do it most of that work myself. So what I did was I just weighed out the options. I went and test rode some baggers, and I was like, yep, this is the one, and that's how we're here with the Road Glide. And I think if you have a significant other that wants to be riding with you more and share that time with you, there's no better option than a touring bike. They were designed to be laden with full saddlebags, full tour pack, and a significant other on the back, and you're meant to go across the country with it. And you know, it's kind of a no-brainer if you have a significant other that wants to ride more, and simply your sport bike is not going to cut it. Your Softail probably won't cut it, neither will your Dyna. So at least, I mean, they can do it, but not necessarily comfortably for the two of you. There's also a bunch of minor things, like, you know, there's creature comforts of having a stereo, cruise control, navigation, and all that. That's generally across the board on a lot of touring bikes. So I think that those 5 reasons are the reasons why you should consider getting a touring bike as your next bike, or as a second bike. You know, you don't have to get rid of the bike. You don't have to get rid of your Dyna or your Softail just to have a touring bike. I mean, if you got the money to do it, do it. If you feel like you want to go out on longer rides or go on road trips across the country, this is the perfect time to do it, man.